Why lightsaber duels suck now.
Lightsaber duels are undoubtedly one of the coolest parts of Star Wars. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, as kids, we saw this and immediately begged our parents for those plastic lightsabers to reenact the Phantom Menace.
Oh yeah.
That is until I
So a quick little thing. Where'd it go?
immediately begged our parents for those plastic lightsabers to reenact.
So these plastic lightsabers, I got a great story. I think I was in my freshman year of high school, or maybe it was middle school. Maybe like late middle school. I don't remember exactly. I just met my friend Kyle, and he traded me. We were both into Yu-Gi-Oh at the time, and I met him in art class, and I think I traded him like a holographic summon skull, and he traded me like a blue eyes white dragon or something like that. I don't remember, but that's when I first met Kyle, and over the next couple months, like we got to become better and better friends, and like I started going to Kyle's house, and he had these plastic lightsabers at the time, and we were just like wild animals with these things, like trying to like beat each other up, just trying to recreate the movies to no avail. I mean, most of the time it's like we ended up just hitting fingers most of the time. If you've had these things, you already know. You're like swinging these things back and forth, trying to be cool, trying to spin them every which way, and then bop, fingers, bop, fingers again. But there was one time where I think Kyle went for like an overhead strike, and I just tried to do this like body wave thing like out of the way. And what ended up happening is Kyle ended up hitting me in my dickhead on a cold day. And that just sent me straight into the dirt because we were outside at the time. And yeah. So yeah, I was down for a good while after that hit. So yeah.
Enact the Phantom Menace. That is until I accidentally smacked my brother's fingers. But the
Yep.
point is, lightsaber duels have always had a special place in my heart, and I'm sure you as well. But sadly, good lightsaber duels are hard to come by these days. It's widely accepted by the community that the prequel battles are better than anything that has come after.
Yep.
For the most part, I agree with this. But let's find out why. Why do lightsaber duels suck now?
Well, especially in this part, in this movie, no lightsabers actually touched at all.
Before I start ripping into the sequel movies like every other Star Wars nerd, I'm actually going to talk about what I liked from these fights. First off, the lightsaber effects look better than ever.
Oh yeah, that is one thing for sure. Look at all the glow you get in Finn's face. Like look how like just blue he looks. Whereas in the older Star Wars there wasn't as much like ambient glow with the lightsabers. It's just like there's the sword, it's obviously green, but it didn't reflect on any like the nearby surfaces or anything. Like with this, it's just like it looks badass. And you can see the sword like vibrating, like humming as if like the energy is like going up. It's definitely cool.
In the prequel films, the light blade was added in post, which is cool but ignores the most important aspect of the lightsaber, the light. Even as a kid, I always wonder why the lightsabers in those movies never actually lit anything up. Nowadays, they
Yeah.
actually use glowing blades during production, so the
Oh, that's why, duh. They just use actual glowing sticks.
actors are being lit up by the brightness of the saber. And anyone who owns a lightsaber knows how bright these things are. It's blindingly bright at times.
Yeah.
Like, when Rey ignites her saber in that cave to see? Yeah, that's not how that works. It's much more realistic in Obi-Wan. Dude is straight up blinded by blue light when he ignites it.
Eh?
Anyways, I also love the modern sound design of lightsabers. Different lightsabers have a unique sound set.
Yeah. Usually, the bad guy lightsabers are like deep and bassy and are like just otherworldly sounds like rumbling. Whereas like the green and blue and purple ones are more like I don't know, angelic sounding, more harmonic.
I don't know, I think that's pretty cool. I know lightsaber sound design is not a new concept, but with more lightsabers being added to the canon, I think it provides a nice touch to the character wielding the blade.
Oh yeah.
And the last thing I like about the modern duels is how tired the fighters get. I actually like that Rey and Kylo show fatigue throughout their fights.
I don't know about that. Okay, how are you gonna get tired wielding a sword? It's a lightsaber, dude. It's like, how heavy can it be, really? Like, swinging this thing around. What, are you gonna compare it to like a real sword? You can't. It's a lightsaber. It's made of light. And yes, they clash, and that means like there's some sort of like, I don't know, solid objects colliding or whatever. If they're lightsabers, when they just like go through each other, I don't know. But the fact that these people like get fatigued is like, but it's like the fights don't even last that long, to be honest. It's like you're supposed to be a Jedi or whatever, or a Sith, and you've been training with this thing. Where's the cardio? There is zero cardio. If a fight is lasting, I don't know, a minute or two, like, how are you gonna get tired like that? Granted, in like it's like, oh, but Cornel, it's like in a real fight you get tired real quick. Yes, I'll give you that, but I don't buy it when it comes to like lightsaber fighting. I just don't.
It makes it a little more realistic and rough. But alright, that's pretty much all the good things I have to say about the newer duels, so let's get into the real reason why you're watching this video.
Yeah.
Let's talk about why these new lightsaber duels belong in the fucking trash. Nah, I don't actually think that. I do think there are 3 main reasons why these fights
No, he actually does believe that.
suck. The speed and pacing, the production value of the duels, and the emotional weight in the fights. But first, let's talk about speed. Humans like to go fast, and we also like to watch things fast. So it only makes sense that we'd favor the fast-paced fight scenes from the prequels over the sequels.
The reason they look so fast is because, like, obviously how they're shot and edited, but the amount of time that these actors put into like the choreography of all this is like amazing. They put in a shitload of hours into these like lightsaber fights.
It makes sense canonically too. I mean, these duels happen during the height of the Jedi Order and include some of the most skilled Jedi in the galaxy, whereas Rey just picked up a lightsaber 30 minutes ago. But it's not just about how fast they move during the duels, it's the pacing of the duel itself. A good fight should be like a great song. It should start out small and build up to a great crescendo with moments of silence in between. I like to compare the pacing in any fight scene to anime fights. Yeah. Specifically what I like to call the...
Yes, because it's a movie. You have a temporary suspension of disbelief. Real sword fighting actually ends like very quickly in less than a couple seconds. This is a movie. Wow me, show me, give me the lights, give me the shinies, give me the fast moving things.
Anime leap.
Yes.
The anime leap is when a character goes 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. Actually, it's like way less than that. Like when Tanjiro leaps into battle or when Naruto beats Sasuke's ass for the first time. When the side character goes... Yeah, the pacing from such a slow movement to such a fast one, or vice versa, just hits the spot and makes fight scenes way more dynamic.
Yeah.
Obviously, humans can't move like anime characters.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine Obi-Wan just like...
Yes.
Actually, that looks pretty sick, but it doesn't really work. Many live-action films achieve this speed ramp using slow motion.
Yeah, and him using 300 is a perfect example, Actually, I'm actually kind of curious. There were no Star Wars fights where like there was any slowdown like in 300. I don't know if that was like a good or bad decision or how that would look. Maybe bad, because how would a lightsaber look slowed down? I don't know. I think it could be cool though, because like the slow down stuff for 300 look badass. Why not fucking Star Wars? Come on.
Which is also used in anime. However, this doesn't always work as intended and can come off as tacky. I love the emotional significance of this fight, but what the f is this? It just looks cheap and there's no reason for it being here. Slow motion in anime is more justified because at least we get to hear the character's thoughts at that moment.
Yeah.
So if you can't use slow motion, how do Star Wars duels achieve the anime leap effect? just change how fast the characters fight in real time. For example, Anakin's leap to save Obi-Wan, the mini monologue
That actually is a good point.
Grievous gives before Obi-Wan yeets him, or the force battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin. Hell, even this shit from Rise of Skywalker was pretty sick. I'm not saying the
Those little stops were actually really good.
prequel fights are all paced perfectly, but somewhere throughout time, it seems like the people filming these
This just occurred to me. This will never happen though, but why can we never get like a Jackie Chan type lightsaber battle? How cool would that be? Like, he's got him and his team of people or whatever, and they just design a whole lightsaber fight, how it's shot, how it looks, all this jazz. I think that would be awesome. Too bad that'll never happen.
duels just lost their touch, which leads me to the lack of production value. I'll be honest, the people making these newer duels aren't doing it right. When I say the production value is bad, I'm mostly referring to how these fights are shot and edited. The cost
They have no idea how to shoot action because they themselves have never have undertaken any like sort of like physical labor. Like, the reason why a lot of Jackie Chan movies are so good is because he did his own, not only did he do his own stunts, he knows what angles will look good because he's in there and he's going to know what is going to look the most dynamic looking, what's going to look the best on camera. You know, a lot of like modern action is like shot up close, cut, shot, cut, move, cut, you know? Like a lot of like Jackie Chan fights, it's like zoom out. Let me see the whole fight, you know? They did a good amount of that in like what is it, the Anakin versus Obi-Wan fight, like the 15 minutes of lightsaber fighting that they had. There was like a decent amount of like wide angles for that fight. And that's partly why it was like so good.
Costuming, set design, and lighting are not what I'm criticizing here. Though honestly, what the hell was that lighting during the final duel in Obi-Wan? Actually, let's stay on this fight to talk about the camera.
Oh boy.
Was the camera operator riding a ripstick while shooting this?
Yeah.
Shaky cam has never looked good in fights.
Stop with the shaky cam. It's like, it's so bad. You're already gonna shoot it up close. I can't even tell what's going on then. And now you're gonna add some shake onto it to cover up the horrible choreography that your actors are doing because they didn't practice, because they're not, I don't know why. But stop the shaky cam.
While we're on Obi-Wan fights, let's also discuss music. Specifically in this show, where is the iconic music during these emotional duels? The prequels had some absolute bangers during their duels, and I guess they just didn't want to reuse any of it? Like, we don't care, man. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Just give us back Duel of Fates, please.
Yeah.
Conversely, the addition of music can damper a duel, such as this.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah, it's like you have the whole orchestra playing some note every strike. It's like, what? That's not music. That's just like a warm-up. Stop. Play like a song or something.
It's not the music or the shaky cam that ruins a duel.
It's part of
cuts.
it.
Why, for the love of God, are there so many cuts in these fights?
There's so many cuts because how the action scenes are shot. It's like, do a single move. Stop. Okay, you're safe. No, we don't want anybody to get hurt. Whatever. Okay, then now let's go to the next part of the fight. Okay, and action. Do a single move. Ah, okay, we got it. All right, next part. Next move. Boom. Okay. Cut. It's like there's no choreography practice or whatever. And it's so bad. Because, oh, we don't have time. Oh, money. Time. Oh, no, dang it.
In this 22-second clip of the Dooku fight, there are only 9 cuts. And that's mostly just them talking in between clashes. Compared to this 15-second clip of non-stop fighting from Rise of Skywalker with 12 cuts. It basically cuts every 1.25 seconds. And it's not that it cuts a lot that bothers me. Well, it kind of does.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that it cuts to shit I don't need to see.
It cuts to shit you don't need to see, and it cuts to every, like, major motion that the character does.
Like, why do I need to see this angle or a close-up of just these lightsabers? When watching a fight, I like to see the whole thing. Like you wouldn't watch a real fight wearing binoculars.
Yeah.
This is just general advice for any fight scene, but let the audience see the whole fight.
They want to let the audience see the whole fight, but they know it's not going to look good because the actors, I don't want to say this, I don't get it anyway. It's most likely the actors didn't put enough time into the choreography and to like make it look good. That's honestly what it is. You know, all the actors, you know, maybe they want to do their own stunts, maybe they don't. You know, if they don't want to do it, you have to have like a stunt double step in and like memorize all the choreography with the other stunt double. You know, in this case was Qui-Gon and Darth Maul. It's easy to get a different stunt double with Darth Maul because it's just like different makeup and whatnot. You wouldn't really notice, but with Qui-Gon, yeah, if there's any like kind of like spinning motions or close-ups on his face or whatever, you're gonna notice it's not the regular actor. You just are. And so for those reasons, it's like they just don't want to like do the wide angle because in the end it's like it's time, it's money, it's effort, and they don't know how good it is. Like for how much more effort it takes, I don't know if they think it's going to be that much more payoff.
Let me see the punches and the reactions in the same frame. This has been a problem with American films for years now. Compare it to foreign martial arts films, which are by far much more entertaining to watch than this crap. And it's also why this is so damn good.
Yeah.
Because it was made by people who know how a duel should look. Let's be honest though, the real reason they have to fix it in post with cuts is because the actors aren't professionally trained in sword fighting. I know Daisy and Adam trained for several months in preparation for their fights, but it's nothing compared to the years of commitment people like Ray Park and Lauren Marie Kim put into their craft, and it obviously shows in the final product. Even Liam Neeson stated he had experienced sword fighting prior to The Phantom Menace. And as for Ewan McGregor, well, this man can do no wrong. Nah, but I see behind the scenes footage of Ewan training, and I can see a spark of passion in his eyes that I can't find in Daisy. Ewan's dedication both behind the scenes and in the films make people root for him. It makes the audience emotionally attached to him and his fight. And this may be the biggest reason why these newer lightsaber duels suck. There's no emotional connection with these fights.
Oh boy, here we go. You saved the best one for last. Here we go.
It's just two people fighting, and that's it. Watching Rey versus Kylo in Rise of Skywalker for the first time, I just didn't fucking care.
Yeah.
I don't care about Rey, Finn. I care about Kylo a little bit, but not enough to make me root for anyone.
Yep.
Compared to this, a renowned Jedi Master desperately trying to bring his beloved...
Well, I don't think that's a fair comparison. You're comparing like the third movie to like, what was that? The first movie of like the new sequels or whatever. This is like a fight that's been built up over, you know, episode 1, 2, and 3, whereas you're comparing to like A New Hope, or is it A New Hope? I don't remember. Episode 7, where there's not much like backstory between Rey and Kylo. So
apprentice back to the light, but eventually realizing there's nothing he can do but fight to the death. To this day, every time I hear Obi-Wan say,
"You were my brother, Anakin! I loved you!"
my eyes well up a little. Hell man, this premise was so good, it worked twice! Sure, the final fight in Obi-Wan had its flaws, but I was still crying on the inside when this happened. I understand the sequels tried to make it work with their characters, but they ultimately failed. No one cares about Rey, no one cares that she's the chosen one, no one can get behind her motivations. Granted, not all the prequel fights are emotionally thrilling, but they still had cooler characters that we could all get behind.
yeah.
And even if a duel isn't edited properly or choreographed great,
Yeah, this scene was probably the worst offender of like the many cuts and like the pointless spinning.
the people will still love it if we have someone to genuinely root for. You know what? As a fun little exercise, let's take our knowledge of a good lightsaber duel.
Yeah, in the old movies, or at least episode 1, 2, and 3, there was like, for the most part, an obvious good guy, obvious bad guy. There was like a good amount of backstory that had like a build up for each fight.
And analyze the best lightsaber duel of all time. Obi-Wan versus Darth Maul in The Phantom Menace. If you thought it was anything else besides this, there's the door. This fight is the pinnacle of lightsaber duels because it utilizes everything I've said perfectly. Its pacing is near perfect. Looking at this scene alone, we can see moments of the anime leap in action. The suspense of Maul pacing back and forth until the moment the ray shields drop and Obi-Wan explodes into battle. The saber lock leading into Maul's deadly force push. From there, the fight slows down, with all hope seemingly lost until Obi-Wan does a literal anime leap to chop Maul in half.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was cool, but, like, in retrospect, how you gonna have Maul just be like, what? Come on, man. Come on. You can't say that's good, like, fight choreography when you have, like, the bad guy obviously has the upper hand. I mean, yeah, it was, like, kind of cool. Like, yeah, he, like, got the high ground and did a flip and all that jazz. But, like, bro, Maul could have easily just been like, huh? Huh? Like, come on.
The fight feels like an extremely fast roller coaster with huge drops, sharp turns, and a crazy finale at the end. Also, look at the camera work. Mostly wide-angle shots, long takes, and minimal cuts. Even when it cuts to a close-up, we still understand what's happening, while also getting a closer look at the characters' facial expressions. At all times, we know what's going on in this fight. It's actual perfection. Not to mention lighting.
It's not really perfection because in the kick that Maul just did, I think, like, when you initially watch the movie, you don't really notice it, but it happens, like, more and more the more you watch. Like, the kick doesn't even, like, hit him. It's like a movie kick, you know, where you put your limb in front of your opponent's face, and like you put your foot in between the camera and the face, so it looks like you did the move, and he reacts as if you did it, but it's like, it looks a little worse every time you rewatch it. But you know, on the first watch is the one that really counts. Come on.
Set design and choreography are all flawless. We all know Ray Park is a legendary swordsman, and it's obvious Ewan trained relentlessly to keep up with his speed. They got to a point where Ewan and Ray fought so fast and so precise, the crew didn't think the audience would believe it's real. And of course, we gotta hand it to Nick Gillard for essentially inventing the lightsaber combat we all know and love today. And guess what? After the amazing work Gillard did for episodes 2 and 3,
yeah, it's a little bit of kendo, it's a little bit of fencing, it's a little bit of freestyle or whatever. A little bit of everything, really.
he was not invited back to work on the sequel films by Disney. Coincidence?
I think not!
Gillard actually said working for Lucasfilm was like family. When you work on a big studio-based picture, it just isn't like that. Disney really f***ed this up for us, didn't they?
Yep.
Well, at least this fight is perfect. From the cinematography, editing, music, oh my god, I didn't even mention how perfect the music is.
Of course.
Obviously, Duel of Fates will be playing at my funeral, but
Yep.
notice how most of this fight has no music, letting the clashes really drive into your soul. The music is reserved for significant moments like this.
Oh no, you're on the edge of your seat. The last thread. What will happen next?
And this. You know, moments that really emphasize the gigantic emotional significance of this fight. This duel has so much going for it story-wise. Before this, the Jedi were chillin' in a time of peace. The Sith were thought to be extinct, and all disputes in the galaxy were handled pretty well. Hell, this whole beef with the Trade Federation probably didn't even trip anyone out over at the Jedi Temple. That is until this motherfucker shows up and tries to run over a kid. And then he shows up again and hits these two with this shit. The first real lightsaber duel in 1,000 years then ensues. The 2v1 is going alright until... This right here is the reason I rewatched this fight time after time. I can only imagine what Obi-Wan is thinking in this moment. He knows he's not as strong as Qui-Gon, yet the only thing on his mind is to avenge his master. He's got blood in his eyes and does not hesitate to go at Maul with every fiber in his being. Thematically, it makes sense why Obi-Wan would be using anger in this fight, as he's still a Padawan. I just love these close-up shots of his aggressive face. But Maul takes advantage of this anger to position Obi-Wan to be forced into a hole. It's here that we see Obi-Wan transition from a Padawan to the master we know him as, when he calms himself for his final calculated attack against Maul. And it works. See how the little details of the fight all line up with the overarching plot? It's poetry in fucking motion. That about wraps up my convoluted rant on lightsaber duels. If you made it this far, thank you for sticking with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts on modern lightsaber duels and also tell me what your favorite duel is. I'm not gonna judge if it's from the sequels. As much as I complain, I can honestly say I've enjoyed every lightsaber fight I've ever watched. And here's to many more duels to come. Thank you very much for watching my video, and I'll see you next time.
I like this video. This was really great. And it perfectly outlines exactly why like modern lightsaber duels suck. You know? Like even when I was younger and watching the prequels, I didn't realize how good they were until like years later. Like and he didn't really even mention like the like when Yoda stepped up to start doing his thing against Dooku or whatever. So yeah, man, definitely this video was a banger, 100%. So like, okay, so we also need to talk about how amazing some of the lightsaber fights that are from some of the Star Wars game cinematic trailers as well. For example, the Star Wars, the Old Republic lightsaber duels are choreographed so well that they're overlooked just because they're from a video game. Yeah. Um, there are a lot of good lightsaber duels that are just in all the video games. But, what's going to appeal to the masses? A video game or a movie? A movie, of course. So that's usually why they're left out. Why couldn't they just get inspired from those fights and put them into the sequel trilogy and so on? Great video as always. I don't know. I think it is kind of weird if like a fight just gets completely copy pasted from like a game to a movie. I don't. That's just weird. It's like, hang on. Here, you can copy my homework, just change it a little bit so it doesn't look like it's straight copy or whatever that meme is. I mean, yeah, you could take inspiration from it, but as straight copy paste, no, that would probably never happen. But, you know, there's only so many things you can do with like a lightsaber or like a dual-sided lightsaber or two lightsabers. There's only so much you can do. Whether or not they think they've exhausted it all, like who knows. But yeah, definitely, man, great video. I want to see more. um yeah, so well, that's it. Later.